Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wolf Oil Conference. Today we're going to be talking about the mobility of the future. And this is actually the last session of the conference. And we are finishing up with the 2 female speakers. So it's very exciting for me to introduce the presenters today. But before we begin, I wanted to make a quick announcement. As maybe you have seen this QR code, Wolf Oil has been running a quiz, and to get the your voice of the future of mobility. And the lucky winner of the quiz may win a WRC laddie of your choice in 2019. So hope you will get to participate in a quiz. You can scan a QR code through the camera or your QR code reader, or you can go to the website automechanica2018.wolfoil.com to go to the quiz, and you can also share your view on that. And if you haven't been able to do so, I would like to give you a short, quick tour of what Wolf Oil have prepared for you today. They have been displaying and demonstrating a new digital concept of the small oil cabin that they just announced and will be releasing and launching in 2019. And you will get to see the demonstration. And you will also get to experience their product and see the smart display of the product. And it has been very popular of the virtual reality and virtual plant tour of the Wolf Oil. And you will get to learn more about the company and its product. So if you haven't been able to take the time to do so, I do really encourage you to take the tour of the Wolf Oil booth after this presentation. And Wolf Oil, known as a specialist blender, that they have prepared a special cocktail at the bar. So hope after this presentation, you will get to enjoy some of the drinks at the bar and networking. Now, I would like to introduce you to the first presenter of this conference. And so she is actually my colleague from Frost & Sullivan, Vice President in Mobility at Frost & Sullivan. So she has been leading a mobility team since 2001 as a founding member of the European Automotive and Transportation practice. And now she is the Vice President in Mobility and leading a global after-sales and retail program area. And we have strong focus in digitalization, e-commerce, and new business models. Frost & Sullivan has been working as a growth partnership company, enabling clients to accelerate growth and achieve their best-in-class position in growth, innovation, and leadership. So today, she's talking about digital transformation of the automotive industry. Hope you will get to learn a lot from her. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Giulia Saini, Vice President of Mobility at Frost & Sullivan. Please give a warm welcome to Giulia.
Thank you very much, Chika. So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Giulia Saini. As Chika said, I'm Vice President Mobility at Frost & Sullivan. I'm looking after our after-sales and retail area globally. And today I will be introducing you to some of the key trends that we see transforming the automotive industry, and obviously digital being one of the key trends. So, this should go next. Yes. So at Frost & Sullivan, we've been doing a lot of work around digitization, and we define digital transformation around 5 key pillars, as you can see in this slide. So we have the connected supply chain, and this is where OEMs today already can reach around 1 to 2% savings in managing their operation. The second pillar is around Industry 4.0, so digitization in manufacturing. The third pillar is where we see substantial focus right now, and it's around the connected and the autonomous vehicle, with obviously vehicle autonomy level 4 coming in soon, and this really disrupting several parts of the industry. The fourth pillar is around digital retailing, how vehicles are sold today between the online and the offline environment, and of course mobility as a service. So how does digitization provide new mobility service to the customer, and how is the vehicle moving from car as a service to mobility as a service? So let me show you a couple of examples how other industry participants define digitization. So there you are. That's the BMW group. So BMW defines digital transformation around 8 pillars, 4 of them being actually quite similar to the pillars that I showed you earlier, and other pillars being actually inside around the digital enterprise. Everything around manufacturing to retail and repair. But what I would like you to sort of keep in mind that is actually quite new is the customer ecosystem and data strategy. Another vehicle manufacturer that has defined digitization similarly is the Volkswagen Group. So the Volkswagen Group defines digital transformation in 5 areas, and again you have business 4.0, industry 4.0s. They are internal digital elements. But if you look what VW, the VW Group and BMW have in common, it's actually centricity around the digital customer and the user experience. And this is actually something quite new in the industry. And how does digitization actually have an impact around the customer centricity and the entire customer journey? And it's actually for the first time that, thanks to digital transformation, OEMs start to understand who their customer really are. And we'll see a lot of changes in the industry, amongst others also around KPIs. So how do I, in a typically automotive industry, measure their key performance indicators in digital? So as a result, as I said, we'll see shifts from customer reviews to actually improved customer understanding. So how does the industry actually improve customer understanding? Well, we expect OEMs and the industry to launch IoT platforms that will enable individualization. This slide is just a snapshot around different platforms different OEMs are working on. So we have BMW that is working with and GM with IBM. We have Renault Nissan, which is working with Microsoft. And VW, for instance, already announced the launch of 2 platforms, one for commercial vehicles and one for passenger vehicles. And the Rio platform is for commercial vehicles, and it has already been launched. And it's actually the first time that Volkswagen is working with an open platform. And the platform integrates the entire ecosystem of the fleet managers and the fleet ecosystem. And later this year, beginning next year, Volkswagen is going to launch the platform for passenger vehicles. And basically what they will do is that for all the cars that Volkswagen sells in a year, they all will be enabled by the same IoT platform, regardless of which brand we're talking about. So if I am a Golf driver and I go on holiday and I rent a Q7, it will be enabled to take all of my personalized data, my driving preferences, my retail preferences, my mobility preferences. Everything will be brought seamless together. And again, this is the centricity concept around the customer and the personalization. So future OEMs will enable through IoT platforms to understand the customer right from the purchase to the rebuy experience. Okay, and again, this slide shows an array of potential uses cases around digitalization and connected services. So we have about 60 to 70 services bundled around 6 key areas. Obviously, telematics, infotainment, and navigation are what we call the more mature services, but we'll be having more and more new services coming in around lifecycle management, software as a solution platforms, and services more around the health and the well-being within vehicles. And when it comes to data points being collected through the vehicle, one of the major growth areas that we see in future is user-based insurance, for example. So we are basically OEMs, just as much as they provide finance and leasing, it is expected that even OEMs will be going into the data world and provide insurance going forward to us drivers. So as you can see on the slide, the car is able to collect all of these UBI points, and then we expect to offer companies to offer insurances based on the way we drive, where we drive, how we drive, and when we drive. But whilst these UBI points are user specific to the car industry, we can also think of collecting anonymized data that could be used for different applications and different market participants, such as parking solution providers, dealerships, garages, smart city planners, everything to enhance the product portfolio and the services. But digitization is really also changing the entire process of how we service the vehicle, with both traditional players as we know it, but a lot of new entrants that use different digital tools and online platform to capture the demand, to provide access, support, and delivery of services to driver. So in future we see that services in the aftermarket will become more dynamic, more intuitive, but also more predictive, with greater connectivity, and then this ecosystem will have new players and marketplaces. For instance, we have OpenBay in the United States, we have Autobutler acquired by PSA, and of course the likes of Who Can Fix My Car in the UK. And service marketplaces are basically what we call the Uberization of vehicle services, or something like it would be your Expedia. So you can aggregate, you can go online, put a requirement of a service, of a demand on a platform. You can get quotes from different service providers, different garages. In real time, you can select one of the quotes and pay straight online. So it's a great use of these aggregator platforms. So another area that is evolving rapidly is around the digital assistants, and we all use them. So we do expect digital assistant and voice recognition to come more and more into our car. So obviously we all know Amazon Alexa, and it has stolen a little bit the thunder amongst the digital assistants. But basically, if we group them, we have 4 key applications coming from different providers. One is the HMI within the car, so by voice I can control the cooling, the heating, the sitting. Another application is digital retailing, so I drive to work in the morning and I order my shopping via the voice. It will also connect me on my work suite, so I will be reading my emails, I will be organizing my agenda, and interestingly, what we call the connected home, the connected living, it will connect me with my home, and I will be able to control everything from the car. Another aspect of voice recognition, and in general other form of biometric recognition within the vehicle, is that it is used to recognize a driver within a certain vehicle. So the same car can actually have different user and will be able to identify the user based on biometrics. So a family of 3 using the same vehicle might actually have customized insurance solution based on the age of the driver, based on the mileage he or she is driving. Blockchain obviously is another topic that is very important around digitization in the automotive industry, and I'll just touch upon it briefly. So, as we know, blockchain is supposed to provide a decentralized ledger of chain records that is really, really secure because it uses encrypted keys. And in automotive, more and more blockchain application and their usage have been looked at, and there are just a few as example for your reference. So everything from managing in the aftermarket vehicle service records, but also retailing to leasing can use blockchain. You can, for instance, very quickly check vehicle service records. You can easily detect frauds. Or during recall situation, a blockchain technology can help to identify where the recall part is actually being used right now. So giving a serious car with a similar problem, an OEM can quite quickly track the common part or manufacturer data parts, a series of vehicles. So, as mentioned, we do expect the fact that digitization is changing key performance indicators, and we looked into 5 pillars of digital transformation and the aspect and the influence it has on it. So, this is something new. So firstly, we need to try to define digital KPIs across the value chain. So both upstream the operations and downstream. So every function, every department will actually have a new set of KPIs. And broadly speaking, we expect 2 sets of KPIs. One will be around the optimization of an existing process, so analog. In some cases, there will be the need for completely new KPIs. We'll also think that KPIs for the leadership and the management teams will change. So in future, for the first time, because car companies can get data directly from the customer, KPIs will at management level be also developed around the customer. And then we have the business and the enterprise KPIs, and this also needs to be differentiated, and KPI need to be developed around the digital services, car as a service, and car as an element of a connected living solution. So this slide summarizes the points I just mentioned, so that all digital KPIs need to be broken down by different functions we have within a company. So we will have KPIs for finance operations, for human resources, or for supply chain, and also for sales and marketing. And this slide gives you an overview to some of the KPIs used typical in the retail environment, and Amazon could be one of the companies to benchmark under this aspect. So just as a quick example, we're working with a dealership group some time ago, and we found that the number of leads coming through digital channels had increased tremendously, up to 30% of their total leads, but it was taking the company up to 6 to 8 months to actually categorize and to process these leads, which meant that there was a huge and significant dropout into leads. However, once a company decided to invest into understanding digitization and digital KPIs and redesigning even internal process, looking internally at how they have to change, this closure and the closure time and conversion rate increased significantly. So there's a real need for all of us within the industry to take a step back and to develop new measures, see this as opportunity and not as something that is disrupting the way we work. So the key takeaways is the industry has really moved from defining to implementing digital, and most OEMs or ecosystem partners now have a chief digital officer with an associated department and an associated budget. There is significant revenue potential for data services and downstream, and every company needs a chief data officer. Every company needs a marketplace for selling new used vehicles and parts. And again, digital KPIs need to be set around customer insights. So with that, my presentation is finished, and I believe we have time for some questions or for our next colleague.
So I'd like to ask if anybody on the audience would like to ask Julia questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a question related to the platforms.
Yeah.
We saw that usually the companies investing in this kind of platforms are the big companies because they have the resources and they have the interest to do this kind of investment. How the other companies, small, medium, can benefit about these platforms, and how these platforms, I don't know, in the future, they are going to merge in order to offer to the companies interested about this access.
Well, obviously a lot of these companies, and thank you for the question, a lot of these companies do not acquire, they work in partnerships. So there is to a certain extent a give and take between the two companies. But you're right, having digital platforms is not within the realm of capability of all companies. But this is why a lot of companies actually start offering platforms in a flexible way as solution providers. So for instance, I can think of a company that works with data strategy is Autotelematics. So Autotelematics provides to several industry participants the access to a certain set of data. So as a company, depending how big or how small you are, it's not like you have to buy all of the data coming out of the vehicle. You can select which data it is, and depending on the data point, it provides you access. So you don't have to build your own platform. You can actually benefit from using somebody else's platform and expertise.
Any other questions? We actually had a lot of content and information in these slides. So I believe, I think everyone might need some time to digest. So I just wanted to remind everybody that this presentation has been recorded and has been live streamed on YouTube channels of Wolf Oil. So if you'd like to recap some of the things that Julia has mentioned and presented today, please follow the Wolf Oil YouTube channels and you will get to see today's presentation again. And thank you so much, Julia, for sharing your insight.
Pleasure. Thank you very much, everyone.
So I would like to invite our second speaker for this conference this afternoon. And sadly, she will be the finalist and the last presenter at this conference. And she was a little bit hesitant to speak in this future of mobility because she doesn't necessarily specialize in mobility. But I just wanted to quickly introduce her background. She's an innovation strategist and co-founder at Junction. And they have been organizing a complete innovation tracks for corporate clients, focusing on the development of new business models and implementing a change management process. And they believe the people side of innovation. So it's not necessarily the technology side of things, but more about the people side of innovation. And that's the essential factor of establishing a successful future-proof companies. So they have been organizing a lot of events around innovation. So she will probably be able to share a little bit of her experience and what we can do to build the future of mobility. So let me introduce you to Askim Kintziger, innovation strategist and CEO, co-founder at Junctions. Please give a warm welcome to Askim.
Thank you for the introduction. I will be speaking about innovation strategy and the importance of that in the sector of mobility, as well as it is important in other sectors as well. So in the previous presentation, we have seen a lot of... sorry, can you hear me well? Sorry? Okay, in the previous presentation, we have seen a lot of things about what digital can do for the industry. So now I'm going to speak about a few things, how you can implement those kind of digital things and trends within your industry as well. We get lots of questions from clients starting with, we need to innovate, we need to do something. That is the question they come to with us, and they wonder, how can we do this? How can you help us? So I would like you to imagine if you walk into a bar and you see a rabbi, an IT manager, a doctor, and a circus artist sitting together. That will be, you think, maybe the start of a good joke, but that's not what it is. That is actually, in fact, what we do in reality all day with our clients. We bring them together. We bring clients from different sectors together, and we make them co-create. It's a very important part of our job to stimulate co-creation within companies, within different departments, within those companies, but also externally. You would be, yes, like, I was also in the beginning when I was working with these clients and doing this job, I was also like imagining how could we do this and this and this, but from the moment we put together different people from different sectors, you actually see it happening and see what kind of things they are bringing to the table. It's very important to do something with that. So you can start small with innovation within your company. It doesn't have to be disruptive from the very start. So the Ubers, the Airbnbs, it's good that they are here. They are very disruptive. They have a good business model. But the major part of innovation comes from incremental innovation. That means step-by-step innovation within your company on a day-to-day basis. So it's very important to stand still with that. As a manager, but also as an employee, and to see how can I improve my work, how can I improve my product, how can I improve my customer centricity on a day-to-day basis. It's not very useful if you do it in a committee one time a month for 4 hours. That's not something that will work on the long term. That is good for that timing, and then you have a complete innovation mindset, and then you go back to your regular job. That's not how long-term innovation works. You really need to see it as something incremental, step-by-step, smaller things to implement within your company. It has to be a mindset where you can, as a manager, give trust to your people within your company to do so. We, as in Junction, we work with self-steering teams. It is not that everybody gets a carte blanche and they do whatever they want. It's within a certain framework that they can do what they want, that they will have a certain creativity. We think to give autonomy and responsibility to each employee, no matter what their function is very important. In fact, we don't have functions so much in our company. People apply at our company for the company fit, the culture fit, and not for a specific job description. That is also what we try to do with our clients when we also give leadership trainings or culture trainings, is that the first thing that's very important is the fit with your company. And next to that, for your customer, the fit with your product. Don't just try to sell something because, yeah, you want to make money, but you need to deliver value to your customer. It's the same for your employees. You need to deliver value for them, and then they will stay in your company. They will come with their own innovation, with their own thoughts. And the important thing is for you that you should have a yes and not a yes but attitude. It doesn't mean that you need to implement everything that they say or they come up with, but it means you need to be open for it, to be able to investigate it and see what is possible within your company. Just say, yes, let's see if we can do this. If we would do it, what would it cost? Which resources do we need? If it happens to be not possible, then talk with your employee. Why is it not possible? Can we change something about it to make smaller steps maybe, to make it possible? It's a very important thing. What's also very important is customer centricity. Develop things with your customer, for your customer in the end, of course, but with your customer during the process. It's something that we do as well. We don't just sit around and think, what would they like? Could we do it like that? We just ask them. It's more easy for us and more easy for them, because in the end the product we develop is for them, and so that works better. I'm going to see, yes. So some traditional ways, as I said earlier, of coming up with new ideas or products, of stimulating innovation within companies are the usual task forces, the committees, which come together on a certain time spot and then disappear again, the ideas box. you have mostly internal product development cycles of certain months, for let's say 8 months, for example. If the product doesn't work after 8 months, they start over, which is good to start over, but you could do it in a much more upfront stage, like for example in the first week, if you develop together with your customer. Then your costs will be less and your product will be developed earlier. The outside-in innovation is here very important. Just bringing different kinds of innovation, different kinds of sectors. That is what we do. We have worked with the port sector, with the diamond industry, with the fintech industry. We just put them together and see what can they learn from each other. You would be amazed, really, what they can achieve. So why should we innovate? It's obvious, of course. It has an impact on our economy and jobs. It depends on the customers you will have or lose, and also your company itself. Will it be future-proof or not? How much can it adapt? How? So a few examples of how you can do it is if you set up an internal accelerator or incubator where people are able to experiment with ideas, where they have a safe ground to develop those kind of things. Where they can receive coaching or training programs. You can organize corporate innovation days within a structured framework, of course, where it leads to long-term innovation. You can organize hackathons, design sprints, etc. I will show you a short video of a hackathon and an innovation summit we did on mobility in February. We organized it in Brussels and we gathered 2,000 people from inside mobility, but also from outside. I think we had a range of like 40% inside in mobility and maybe 60% outside. We brought them together. They were students from high school, students from university, people from within the sector, and we let them co-create. Let's see. So I will not explain what the hackathon is here. You will see it in the movie. If it's So that is what we did in February, and as you can see at the hackathon, we had around 260 people on the spot hacking different challenges within mobility, going from car mobility, biking, mobility as a service, etc. And there we also had people who had a lot of knowledge from the mobility industry being there as a coach. They came in at certain time frames to help the people with advice from within the sector. And then the people who were working there mostly didn't know anything about the sector. And there we see those creative ideas coming to life. And they are being incubated as we speak now, of course, because we did it in February, so we still have a few months to further develop those ideas together with the startup teams and the student teams in order for these ideas to implement them in those companies. So my message to you is please look outside of the borders of your company, look also inside of the borders of your company, put together your marketing team and your IT team and see what happens, and ask your customers to see how you can help them better, and then do it externally as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Askim, for sharing your experience on innovations. Anybody have any questions to Askim? No? She did a fantastic job elaborating how we can enhance the innovation in organization. But you have some time to stay with us,
Yes.
Naba? So if you have any questions, you can speak to her directly after this upstairs in a bar. And so hope you enjoy the presentation. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Askim. So it is actually really sad to actually conclude this conference because it has been a fantastic 3-day. We have been covering a product innovation, different side of mobility. It has been very interesting experience for us to explore different areas of innovation as well. So Wolf Oil has been representing its entrepreneurial spirit, innovation, and it has been, I think, demonstrating by partnering with some of the internal, external stakeholders to make the future happen. So hope you will get to enjoy the rest of the evening. Please come to join everyone in the bar to network further, and the show will go on. The booth will stay till the end of the Automechanika, so hope you will get to enjoy Wolf Oil through different elements of the company. Thank you very much and enjoy your evening.